Rightio, good morning. We've got enough here to start. So, look, I will open the Karakia because I think our person that's down for the schedule is in this committee. Whakatakata hou ki te uru, whakatakata hou ki te tonga. Ki mā kina ki uta, ki mā tara ki tai. Ihi ake ana te atakura, hei tū, hei hoka, hei ahu, ti hei Māori ora. So, welcome to today's meeting of the Regulation Hearing Committee. There is a quorum present, so I declare the meeting open. Now, we have had one apology from Chair Pauling this morning, so he's on other business. Have received no other apologies. Is anybody aware of any from the floor? If there isn't, we'll just take it as Chair Pauling. Councillor Swiggs, good morning. Right, yeah. Does anybody have any conflicts with today's agenda items that they'd like to declare at this stage? If there isn't, we'll move on to petitions, public forum, deputations and petitions. We have received none. Is there any extraordinary and urgent business that anybody wishes to bring to the table? Nope, if there isn't, that takes us to agenda item 6, which is the notices of motion. We have received no notice of motion and I'm not aware of anything coming to the table. That takes us on to agenda item 7, when my computer actually wakes up. Something's wrong with it. Oh, hang on, we've got it there. It's done its thing. So we have the unconfirmed minutes of Regulation Hearing Committee, 4th of June there. Are there any matters of accuracy before we move the recommendation? If there isn't, could I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Councillor Edge is going to move it and Councillor Davies is going to second that. So we're moving a seconder there. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, so that's carried. Thank you. Right, that takes us on to agenda item 8, the report items for decision. In the room this morning at the table, we've got our acting manager, of Consents Planning Manager there, John Boriston. Alongside him we've got Alison Cooper, who's the Consents Coordinator, and on the left-hand side we've got David Sluter, who is the Senior Consents Planner of Project Management Officer. Is that correct? Thank you. So look, we'll take the paper as read. This is something that everybody will have noticed was around the fast track consenting panel members, and I'm going to hand over to John, to introduce this, and then we'll take questions of clarity before we complete this item. So, right, and it looks like it's a slightly altered recommendation here.
Yes, this is.
You can provide the background to that, John, as you go through, because I did realise that there was obviously staff were trying to preempt some stuff without having complete certainty.
Yep. Thank you very much. Yeah, so this is operations in real time almost. It's happening around us as we're even talking. And David is I brought him along in support for myself. He's our person that manages as a project manager role, the fast track processes. So I've been working closely with him, and I thought it'd be good to bring him along in case there's questions around it, or he can answer those that I'm not familiar with. So just in regards to the report that you've got in front of you and the recommendations here, so the report we provided is for the nomination of an expert consenting panel member for the Tekapo Power Scheme, based upon what we knew of the panel selection process at that time. There is a convener of the panel, which is a person in Christchurch, who's the ex-Environment Court judge, Jane Borthwick, and she drives this part of the fast track process. The Genesis application is actually for a renewal of the power scheme, and it's the first fast track substantive application to be accepted in Canterbury, and it's sort of pretty much the first cab off the rank for us in regards to going through this process and involvement at each of the stages. And this is our very first involvement in a panel selection. There is another one we're bringing through to you next week. There'll be a bit of a break from there. So we're learning as we go on this. The approach that we developed for today's paper, which was really to allow us to work within our current delegation levels and, of course, the timeframes that were being put upon us to respond, in this instance, to the panel convener and supporting them in creating the panel. And it's something we will have to sort out going forward, how we manage this. As I say, we're learning about it as we go. So we provided you a list of 8 in the paper, a list of 8 possible panel member nominees for approval, knowing at the time that possibly only one will become the final nomination from Environment Canterbury post the panel convener meeting, which was held on Friday the 13th, which is a critical date for a number of reasons. So we've learned a bit since Friday the 13th. And from which our plan was, from the 8 getting the authorisation today, we would be empowered, as staff, I mean, to then, when we find out the number they actually required from us, down to, then there would be at least one, we could nominate from that list, because we needed to respond almost immediately. So there is a decision in regards to this waiting for us to get back by Thursday. On the 13th, after the 13th of June meeting occurred, we've been requested by the panel convener to provide 2 nominees, and they want nominees with extensive planning experience. So from the list of 8, we're down to 2. Hence, we've changed the recommendation. And the recommendation, and is the recommendation come out in paper form, or is it going to be up on the screen? It's up on the screen. It's up there somewhere, is it? Sorry, I can read it now. I've got you. So I'll read it out anyway. So our recommendation, which is a modification to the paper we provided you for the reasons I gave, is we approve Bianca Sullivan and Marie Long as Canterbury Regional Council's nominees to be a member of the panel for the Tekapo Power Scheme project. So I thought it was important that if I came along and sort of assisted us to work through the process we've been through to get to here. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a staff recommendation here, so we don't need to do any amendments. And as John has said, the papers came out before the meeting on Friday the 13th. The background of these individuals is in the paper, and certainly the focus here is on the planning. So I just have a question. What's the size of the panels that they're looking? How many members are they looking to have on these panels?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So I think the standard sort of set out in the Act is usually about up to 4 members. I guess the panel convener can decide, I guess, based on various advice and factors, whether to have more or less. For this particular project, she's made it clear that there will be 4 members. And then, yeah, as stated there in the Act, that the local authorities get to put forward 1 nominee out of the 4. So, yeah.
Okay, so Councillor Swiggs?
The nominee that we put forward is not acting on behalf of the regional council, is it? Or was trying to get my head around why we are putting one forward. Is there some sort of link into the regional council? Sorry, I don't understand the Act, and I haven't.
Yeah, I think probably that's what the staff are there to provide that information for us. So,
yeah, through you, Chair. So it's. I'm trying to think how best to explain that. The Act allows for one nominee from local authorities. So I suppose in this case it would be both South and Mackenzie District Council. I I suppose the key point of the act is that it's, as local authorities, we aren't the decision makers. So I suppose the sort of key thing for council to note is that it's actually run, or the EPA administer it, the minister, the sort of the ones that make decisions, and then this expert panel will be the ultimate decision maker. I think, the exact reason we get to nominate one and only one, I couldn't answer that exactly. Sorry, but,
So just adding on to that, the paper does say that Mackenzie will agree to who we nominate, but we have been asked to provide 2 names, so I'm not sure whether that means is that we will actually get 2 people on that panel. They haven't given that clarity, have they?
My understanding is that they will pick one out of the 2. Okay. I think she just wanted 2 for, sort of maybe a spare, or to have 2 options. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor East?
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort of get my head around the process a little bit as well. In a normal consenting sort of regime that we're involved with here, we would appoint a commissioner to hear a hearing. We're being asked by the panel convener to put forward initially a number of people, now cut down to 2. Does that panel convener then select who they want for the panel, or what is the process?
Through you, Chair. So the panel convener, they've selected the other 3 members of the 4-person panel. They just simply told us at the meeting that they'd already got some people lined up for the panel, and that they wanted one nominee from local councils, being sort of 2 names to come down to 1. So I guess ultimately the panel convener will, out of the 2 nominees we give them, will choose one to make up the rest of the panel. So essentially the panel convener is the one setting up the panel.
So in this regime that we're now entering into with fast track applications, excuse me, is our role basically going to be to make a nomination to represent a territorial authority on these hearings panels? Whereas before, we made the decision for the commissioner. Who appoints where does I just want to sort of figure out, how does the panel convener get appointed, and what is our role going forward? Just going to be a lesser role in this fast track process?
Lesser than those consents we're processing ourselves. I can't answer the question how the panel convener gets appointed, but pretty much our role is in support of the fast track process. Every part we go through, including providing names for them to choose who they wish to be on the panel for making the decision. We get the opportunity, because it's out of our wider region, although as you read from the paper, of course, there's 2 councils involved in this, Mackenzie and ourselves. Mackenzie have left us to go ahead and do it. That helped clarify our position in this.
So can I just interrupt for a moment, because I think that let's deal with the recommendation we've got here today. But I think what you've done is highlighted the fact that this table, and probably the wider council to a degree, would benefit from probably a 1-pager. Now that, we have had a briefing, I think, on the fast track at a pretty high level. I'm looking at Robin here. But just a 1-pager around that process, because I think that we'll get some more. So maybe if whoever's, whether it's David or Paul or whoever's going to, perhaps could come back to us with a 1-pager around that process, because I think that David's questions, some of us at the wider council would probably have the same questions. Look, I've got a question from Nook, but can I just leave that? Can I come back to you? I've got other members here, and then come back to you, Nook. I'm quite happy to take that as chair.
Yeah, cool. I understand I'm ex officio, but I still have a question.
I had Councillor Edge and then Councillor Swiggs. So Councillor Edge.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, look, just in terms of the list up there, I'm concerned that my understanding and reading of Clause 9 and Clause 11, that it's not just about planning matters per se, and that Environment Canterbury, given what we do in terms of our partnership with local runanga, Clause 9 talks about the fast-track process must include at least one member who has an understanding of Te Ao Māori and Māori development. And the second one on 11 gives 4 bullet points, and 2 of those bullet points talk about, one is the knowledge of Indigenous biodiversity values, and the second one there, the last one there, is cultural understanding. And of the people on the original list, I think that Hoana Langsbury is by far the most experienced of the people in those key clauses, and I would like to see her name.
Can I just interrupt you, because I think we did hear the staff come to say to us that the panel convener has already selected other panel members and has come to us asking specifically for names with planning experience. This is a panel. We are not here as Environment Canterbury to tell the panel convener of a fast-track mechanism, which is central government-led, who they should be asking us for. So can I just please remind you of the role in that?
I'm absolutely aware of that, but we have the option as a member in the fast-track process, that very first item, number 7, we have the ability to include some people who suit this organisation. And I think that of all of those on that original list, as I say, I think that we should be looking and suggest to the panel convener the importance of having addressing those issues of the fast track process highlighted there in item 9 and 11. This is for Environment Canterbury, for the Canterbury Regional Council, and we should make it very clear, I think, that both that this Haiona also has experience in large-scale planning matters, has experience in fast-track consenting processes, and ticks all the boxes, in my view. And we are potentially missing out on that additional experience of cultural experience by not including her as part of the list.
Can I just also remind councillors that the application, and I think it's actually in this, has actually been supported by the Waitaki Runanga. The applicant has been supported by the Waitaki Runanga in this, and if it's anything like any other RMA process, I would expect that they will be there supporting the applicant with the information that you provide. I think, can I just hand over to staff? I'm not sure who's the appropriate person here to answer this question, because I do think that we need to be careful that we're not trying to tell a higher authority what to do. So
yes, exactly.
We are providing a name as a response to a request from a panel convener of the fast track process. We are providing a name. And the request from the panel convener was for a planner. Can I just have that clarification from staff?
All the people on the list are planners, Chair.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So, thanks for, I guess, sort of clarifying that point. Sort of going back to that meeting on Friday, we, like I said, we're sort of with the time frame. That's only when we found out. So, yeah, to clarify, we were asked by the panel convener to nominate someone with that planning expertise. I should also have said the other 3 members that have been chosen, they've already got I think someone with sort of that lawyer legal background on the panel as the chair, and a hydrologist has been chosen. And also, I guess key to that point is someone with, my understanding with a cultural understanding has been, I think there was either someone initially lined up and maybe now unable to do it, and so she's gone back to the Waitaki Runaka for a nomination, or is also working with them to nominate a 4th person on the panel. So there will be someone with that, sort of cultural experience on the panel. We were unsure of our role, sort of in terms of what we would be asked to nominate, hence why we sort of tried to like you said, there, cover off bases with people with a range of skill sets in case we were asked for sort of one particular area. And like I said, it turns out we've been asked for someone with planning experience, which is why we've chosen those planning names. So hopefully that provides a bit of context for that.
Right, Councillor Swiggs.
Thank you so much. Now, I think I get it now. I just had a quick read of the legislation bits that Grant was kind of referencing, and have reread and understood from your questions and answers. So, thanks for that. It's actually pretty straightforward. However, I'm going to ask a pretty reasonable question, because this is taking a lot of the control away from the regional council, which is the the resource management, whatever you want to call it, because I thought we would have been the higher authority in a way. We hold that RMA stuff, but anyway, I don't know. But the question I have is, the person has asked us to nominate 2 people. If we go away and say, yep, no, we're going to nominate 2 really different people that we want, what would they do that don't have planning experience? Will they just say no and then come back to us and say, actually, we want somebody with planning experience, and then we don't do that? What is the extent of the force that they have on us in this respect? Because what I'm thinking here is that why don't we nominate 2 politicians?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So my understanding when I read through that act is we've got sort of the opportunity to nominate someone. I suppose if we didn't say nominate anyone, then the panel convener just had the power or the authority just to nominate all the panel members. So from that, my understanding would be that they would just nominate someone. I guess it's sort of important to note that this isn't an RMA process. Through the EPA, the ministers and the panel convener have sort of a lot of all the power there. Basically, we aren't decision makers at all in this process. We were still just understanding our role, but initially we thought we would just be asked to comment on these applications. But it seems like I said, we can at least get some control over panel nominations, providing some context with the applicants, things like that. So we're still learning that process, but from what we understand, it is very much we're very hands off of this process.
So I just want to be clear, even if we nominated these 2 people, they still have the power to say, no, we don't want these 2 people, we're going to get somebody else.
Yes, my understanding is they probably could, but I guess they would have to have a reason to do so. We've sort of been asked for nominations, and we've sort of tried to choose people with that, like I said, that local planning experience, with our plan, and that's sort of what we're going to sort of highlight to the panel convener why we went for these people with that skill set. With the expectation that one of them would be, I think they would come back to us and say why they aren't suitable and give us the opportunity to recommend perhaps further people if there was an issue there, say. But from what I understood from that meeting, that we'd recommend the 2, and one of them would be on the panel.
No, thanks, because I was just thinking maybe we should nominate me and Nook. We've both got planning experience and whatnot, and it's because
So can we just keep it? Can we just keep this to the point? Now we've got our General Manager of Regulatory Implementation sitting at the table, and I think that our council, Robin Fitchett, might like something to say too. So can I just pass over to whoever's wishing to make a comment here, because I think that councillors are actually forgetting what the job is that we're being asked to do here.
Through the chair, I just approached the table just to clarify. I suppose if council decides not to recommend panel members, the effects of that is unknown. I would imagine the minister would have to make a decision, but we actually couldn't advise you of what would happen if we didn't do it. So our strong recommendation would be that we need to supply 2 members, and we'll meet the criteria that we were advised to do. Robin's just approached as well, so I'll hand over to Robin.
We've got our General Counsel, Robin Fitchett, come to the table. Robin?
There was a strong indication that there is a gap in the panel that needs to be filled with someone who is highly experienced and well-versed in the Canterbury Land and Water Regional Plan, because the planning framework is very important here. The issues will focus on the conditions of any consent, which ultimately have to be enforced by us as the regulator. So if this is our opportunity to put that planning framework front and centre for the decision makers, so that's why we have followed that recommendation, and these people are in the staff's opinion, able to fill out that 4-person panel to bring that Canterbury planning context to the fore.
Thank you. Now I'm going to go to Nook. Do you have a question still of staff?
Kia ora. Thank you, Madam Chair. As I mentioned before, I'm ex officio sitting here listening to this. Just an observation, first of all, is that when you look at this, and I take into account what Councillor Edge has quoted and also Councillor Swiggs, the interesting thing here is that Takapo, actually, that whole area is actually very, very significant. You only got Aoraki Moka there, and then you've got all of those areas, and particularly from a cultural point of view. My question was, when listening to the first part of this, and then now understanding that it's quite new, this thing, particularly, what we're trying to do. But I do, as a Ngāi Tahu councillor, really want to say is that Bianca Sullivan, Marie Long, I'm sure, they do have a lot of experience, but do they bring that cultural experience as well? And that's when we look at the relationship that we have with Ngāi Tahu actually in this council. We need to actually take this as really considered very carefully, because there is a really big situation here around the cultural importance of everything across the Taio, but particularly here. You've actually mentioned the Papatupu Runanga that are involved in this. I know Hoani Lansbury. He's from Otago, so he is Ngāi Tahu Whānui. I'm not sure whether Raywin Solomon was actually asked as well. They are two of probably the most experienced Ngāi Tahu people that would fit that there. So my question is, has the due diligence around all of this been done? And I'm really appreciative of the fact is that it is very new, this fast track situation. So we're all kind of learning as we go, but we can't actually step away from one of our principal things here at the Canterbury Regional Council is about the relationship of Ngāi Tahu Whānui.
So yeah. Sorry.
Has that due diligence been done? And I know what you're trying to do here is, we need to put two names forward. I'm just thinking that, we need to actually think about that cultural aspect.
I think what I've heard staff say, just David, I think it was that said it, was that the Waitaki Runanga have been asked to put a name forward, which for a panel member, which it may well be Hoani. We don't know who they will put forward. We have been told that they have got that panel member up. I think we also need to be very cognizant, and I know that Bianca has been involved certainly with our planning processes here for many years, and she's also sat on consent hearings. So as an RMA commissioner, done the Making Good Management course, I'm quite sure that she's well over Te Ao Māori and cultural stuff as well. So, look, I think that we seem to be going around and around here, and without having a real good understanding of that background information of the fast track process and staff obviously navigating their way through this, I think that we come back to the fact that we've been asked to provide a panel member with planning experience, and the knowledge that on Friday the 13th staff have been informed that there are 3 other panel members, if not selected, potentially selected, and certainly with a focus on obviously what is a issue to councillors sitting at this table, which is cultural stuff. Now, I'm not keen to add an amendment to this. Councillor Edge, I will give you an opportunity to speak again.
I didn't pick up the fact that there is a known, the convener has actually approved as part of their team a Te Ao Māori advisor. Is that true or false, or still uncertain?
Through you, Chair. So we haven't received the name yet, but we're aware that that a panel member there will be someone, she said, that will have cultural experience to look at that sort of aspect specifically. We only found out this under meeting on Friday that she was going to, that was what was happening, hence why we weren't able to include it in the paper, unfortunately.
I suppose that's part of my reasoning, is that why don't we include a person with that skill from our side, if you like, and if some other planning sort of experience is required, it gives the panel convener the opportunity to say, okay, Environment Canterbury will go with your Te Ao Māori expert and cultural expert on the panel, and they can add someone else. But my understanding of the fast track process and the convener's responsibility is that it's not just restricted, I don't think, to 4. That they can include more people on their team. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair. I think it is possible. I've just got the. I think Robin's just given me the act here. So the panel, it said in the act that the panel convener may appoint up to 4 members. I don't think so. I was under the impression that more could be done if necessary, but I think it would have to be a particular circumstance that led to that being the case, whereas the act is quite clear that it can only be 4 members, and that's why she told us at the meeting it was 4 members. So, yeah.
Not our place here to be questioning the fast track legislation that's gone through. I think, can we wait till we get the one page and understand that more? Councillor Swiggs.
Look, I'm happy on balance here to move this.
Okay, that'll be.
I'm foreshadowing an amendment.
We've got a mover and a seconder here. Right, we've got an amendment that's been foreshadowed. What is your amendment?
My amendment is that Environment Canterbury approves Ione Langsbury and Maria Long as our 2 members, for the reasons being, that's the motion. Do I have a seconder for that?
Looks like it lapses for lack of a seconder for this. I think that
Chair, can I just ask a question? Sorry, I am very late. Why have we crossed people's names out?
Sorry, Craig. You haven't you have missed most of it. If I can just fill you in here, staff have had a meeting on the 13th, Friday, and the panel convener, who is Jane Borthwick, has come back and asked Environment Canterbury to put 2 specialist planners in, names forward, for potentially 1 nomination at this stage. They've got 3 other members that I understand have been approached or selected for the panel, including going to the Waitaki Lunanga for a cultural advisor panel member. So the discussion here that's been raised by Councillor Edge is that he doesn't feel that there is enough cultural expertise, but when you think about these folk being names here being RMA hearing commissioners, they have got that relevant training and experience to support a specialist panel member with cultural evidence. So,
how did we get down to the 2 that are still on there? Sorry,
because
recommendation.
This is a staff recommendation, a change staff recommendation based on the background of the individuals which was quite wide ranging. There was trying to cover the field with the original writing of the panel. Okay, so the amendment is lapped for lack of a seconder. We've got a mover and Councillor Swiggs and a seconder and Councillor East. I think we've had a fairly good discussion around this. Do you want to discuss it? Yep, okay, we'll have a speaking. We are cutting into our next committee briefing, but it is ours, so that's fine.
Look, I'd just like to say I think that we're entering into a new phase here with the fast-track legislation. We are stepping down the perch a little bit in that particular process. I'm comfortable with the explanations we've had today, and it seems to me that going forward, we will like a confirmation here, I suppose, we're probably going to be asked to provide nominations in a particular field. Is that's what I'm hearing? So I think the fast track legislation does provide the panel members or the panel convener to actually select the panel to hear this particular hearing, and we may be asked to fill a gap that they feel a need for. And I think that, to me, that seems to be the process going forward. So I'm very happy with the recommendation here, and I'm happy to support it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Swiggs, you'll go last? Yeah. Councillor East.
I won't be supporting this changed staff recommendation for the reasons set out in the background information about what the fast track process requires. And I refer to clause 9 of our report here. Clause 7(1)(b) of Schedule 3 of the Fast Track Act requires that the panel must include at least one member who has an understanding of Te Ao Māori and Māori development. And the second one, item 11 on our background information, there are 2 skill sets which are recommended as part of that Schedule 3. And one of them is the knowledge of Indigenous biodiversity values, and the second one is cultural understanding. We've already been told that the panel has appointed a legal representative and somebody with hydrological experience. Well, neither of these 2 people on this list have those other 2 characteristics, and that's worrying in terms of who this organisation is, who we represent, the people we represent, and the values of Runanga in the Tekapo region. It is the heart. It is almost the beating heart of this region, and I'm really concerned that we have an unclear position on Māori representation.
Okay, can I? I'm just in the interest of time. Thank you. Can I go to Councillor Swiggs?
Yeah, same as David East. We're entering into a new route of, or new way of doing this. Regional council loses a lot of control in this process, and I do take some sympathy to what Councillor Edge has said. But I think it's very dangerous when you say, to 2 people up on this that we're putting forward, that they don't have the experience of what you just said. That's I am saying it because the staff have just told us that the convener is going to the Runanga and is going to get a panel member from that Runanga, and I'm comfortable that that's the advice that we've been given from the staff. And I don't know these 2 people, but I've done the RMA training, and you have to understand Māori and the interaction between the all of those parts of the RMA. So this process is new, and it's going to sort of be very dangerous potentially for how it's not dangerous, very different about how it moves forward. And I think we need to be kept abreast of how it progresses, and if anything changes around those panel members, I think we need to be kept abreast of that and quite close to it. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've got a mover and a seconder. We've had the discussion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Councillor. Yep, we can do that.
Position for being against precedent.
You're right. Okay.
Can I just be noted as an abstention because I wasn't involved in the discussion, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, can we do that?
I thought the meeting would have been finished.
Yes, well, we did too, I must admit. Right, we'll then move on to 9.2. That's the resource... Pardon? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 9.2, which is Resource Consent Hearing Status Report. Oh, sorry. I've gone one page too far. 9.1 we're apparently on. That is page 21 of your agenda. This is the resolution status report for 18th of June 25. We have a recommendation here. I think it's pretty clear. They're all green. So unless anybody has any questions of clarity, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for that report, please. I'll move it. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor East. No discussion to be had on that. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. So it's carried. Thank you. Then we'll move on. We'll move on to 9.2 now. So this is a resource consent hearing status report for 18th of June. It's 4 pages there from page 26 onwards. We are expecting, obviously, some decisions that have been made in the last few days. As of last night, they certainly weren't in, or they weren't visible. So it'll be watch that space on the webpage. Does anybody have any questions of clarity of that item of staff? Happy to move. Councillor Swiggs, your question or a seconder? Seconder. So we've got a mover and a seconder there. Okay. If there's no discussion to be had on that one, I will put that. All in favour say aye. Against. So that's carried. Thank you. So the next meeting we've just heard is going to be next week. And we'll leave the Karakia for closing at the end of the day. So we'll just close out of this meeting, and then RHC members, we've got the dashboard briefing this morning.